In this training vlog series episode, I work my way toward the start line of the GB Ultra's Yr Wyddfa Ultra 100-mile race, taking place in North Wales. I continue my careful approach to increasing training load, maintaining trail runs with stride work, and utilizing cross-training where possible to reduce impact on my legs and aid the recovery process. So the last training block was reasonably successful. I had a lower volume than usual and I used specific training sessions like hill strides to still get some speed work done, but to keep things a little bit easier on my legs and reduce impact there. And that seemed to have done a good job for helping aid the recovery process. So going into the next training block, I'm now looking to increase volume and also keep up the hill stride sessions, maybe increase those a little bit more, make them more frequent. And then lastly, I'm also going to be running on terrain that's more indicative of the race that I've got coming up, which is the Yr Wyddfa Ultra 100-mile race. Usually I like to get a good mix of my running in three main areas. So there's the local trails where I live in Pembrokeshire, which is a location between the coast path and the Betwys-y Mountains, the coast path itself, and then the Betwys-y Mountains. For this block, I'll be giving up coast path running in favor of the Betwys-ys for a few different reasons. First reason is it's easier to get longer uphill work in. The coast path is great, but the ups and downs are shorter and more frequent. In Eryri, North Wales, the climbs can get steep and go on much longer, and the Betwys-ys are the closest I have to simulate that sort of terrain and the long hill climbs. Second reason is the terrain composition. So around this time of the year, the Betwys-ys get wet and waterlogged, so you have a lot of bog and mud to deal with, and I'm expecting a lot of that on the 100-mile race, especially in the second half of the course that I'll be running. Third reason is the weather in the Betwys-ys can sometimes be quite rough and inclement. You can get high enough to run in low cloud, mist and rain quite often, and this helps with regards to mental fortitude on those longer events where you might need to endure bad weather for long periods of time. As I mentioned before, at the end of this training block was the Yr Wyddfa Ultra 100-mile race. So I drove up the coast to North Wales the day before the race and did race registration, and I camped in a cheap campsite about 10 minutes away from that registration and start line. Camping the night before Snowdon Yr Wyddfa 100-mile race. So I basically had to set up camp in the evening and prepare my kit and gear before it got too dark. And then I was up at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning for a 6 a.m. start. The course was technical as expected in the first 50 miles, and we got some very strong winds throughout the day, especially on the mountain tops. I made fairly good time finishing the first 50 miles in about 13 hours and had banked on the second half of the race being a little bit easier based on what I had seen on the race's elevation profile. However, this assumption was far from the truth. There was a lot more elevation to go. It was just hidden in many more ups and downs. The weather also turned bad at about 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, with rain pretty much the entire day on Sunday. The trails turned to rivers, and anywhere they weren't already submerged in water, they were slick, muddy and technical. The second half took me a lot longer than I thought it would, but I teamed up with another runner through the night and Sunday, and with both of us making it to the finish line before it got dark again on Sunday evening. So that's a wrap for this training block and a successful event. If you enjoyed this vlog episode or enjoy my running content, please consider subscribing to be notified of future content and press the like button to let me know you enjoyed it.